James, I'm so glad you could join us today. Welcome.
Thank you, Lisa, for the invitation. I appreciate it. And
I so enjoy working with you. We've been able to work together these past few weeks, and I've noticed that you really know how to create a space for the spirit world to use for communication. Why is creating that space so important?
Lisa, for number one, thank you, and I love working with you. You're great. I really love your energy and your questions. Each medium develops each day. I feel, and my medium has developed, and I've gotten probably in the past 2 years the awareness of that when you work with the spirit world, you have to create a sacred space, and that space is very, very necessary. Number one, to invite them to this lovely space. I call it a sacred space, and we have to welcome them to a lovely space that where it's like having a party, and you want them to have a good time, enjoy that space, so the conditions are easier for them to communicate. And if you're working with an audience or one-on-one with someone as a medium, you want them to realize it's a sacred space, and we're changing that with our thoughts, with music. We are here with them. We're meeting them halfway. So to me, it's very important.
Yeah, well, I'm particularly fascinated by your gallery readings. I've had plenty of one-on-one readings with mediums, et cetera, but you do these big crowds. How do you prepare a big space or even a little one for an audience? Do you use music, incense? What's your process?
Well, it's different depending upon the event. So, for instance, if I do something on Zoom, I prepare an hour before, and I just in my mind I meditate, and I create like a white light. I use imagination to create white light. I'm the day of a demonstration for medium. A demonstration is where you're using a lot of people in the audience or on Zoom. That's a little different than a one-on-one. One-on-one, first of all, I would come ahead of time and I will set the space with my intention, the feeling. I might use music, I might use incense, but it's important that the mind of the medium is open. That's the most important thing when creating a space. It's got to be open. And then you have to set an intention. So I do that. In another space, an auditorium where I've had thousands of people, 500,000 or 2,000 people, many times, Lisa, I would go beforehand to the event at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. The event might be at 7. And I just, with my mind, I just create and imagine a beautiful light in that room and invite the spirit people to start working in that room. And they do. They set up the room themselves with what they need to clear in order for them to come through easier. So it happens in different ways. And the intention behind it is what it's about. It's all about the intention.
That's fascinating. Thank you. Thank you for answering that one. And it's one thing I've always wondered about because I've seen these events, and I know everyone in the audience of these sometimes huge crowds is hoping that you'll choose them. What does it feel like for you to be in a room full of ghosts and expectant audience members? How do the ones who come through make it through the crowd, so to speak?
Well, a couple of answers to that. Number one is I just did an event this past Friday for about 400 or 500 people. And it's very interesting because it's very important I set the tone. So as soon as I get on the stage, I have to set the tone for the audience. And it's me in charge, and they'll follow my lead. They'll do whatever I say and I came out and I said, first of all, I have to take away the expectation. The expectations are for everyone. Of course it is. It's normal. And so what I begin with really is I use humor to break it down. And they see, and it does many things. Number one, they realize I'm cracking these jokes and fun jokes. Like, we're going to have a three-way tonight. There's me and I'm ready. Spirit people are ready, but are you ready? Because they have to realize that they have a responsibility. And the responsibility is, and the realization is that they will most likely they won't get a reading because there's too many people. So you have to set that expectation, tell them, which is very true, even though you might not get a message, one message is for every single person in this room because we are all having a human experience and everyone can relate to these human experiences. And my guides who work with me, and this has been 40 years now, they've always are the ones who bring in the spirit. They are in control of the spirit side of life. And they will bring someone close to me who, number one, is able to work with me as far as my beliefs, my sense of humor, my personality, the close aspects of my personality. It's easy for the spirit that would have something like that, a sense of humor or, a lightness or happiness. They bring them through. They will bring the spirits through who will be able, in their message to the recipient in the audience, to bring through information that will help every single person in that room. So it might be about forgiveness. It might be about loving yourself. It's so many different, that love is, there's no end to love. That love is death is like love, it never ends, and that those three things. And even through that, and I do a meditation that'll blend them all together as one, and it feels great. But there's every once in a while someone not working in that three-way position that they go into their own story, and I just hold back. I say, okay, and you have to be patient. So this is for everyone. So let's get through this. And I know they have a hard time. I'm very good at working with the dynamic of the individual. I was going to be a psychologist, and I worked with Dr. Brian Weiss, who is a psychotherapist for 20 years, doing a lot of shows with him, events with him. So I've learned from Brian as well how to behave with a recipient. Many of them in grief. And my job is to help them realize, number one, there is no such thing as death. It's really not about the message, about the personal message. It's about what they're saying. And also, Lisa, what tends to happen is, for me, and every medium works differently. So everyone should know that every medium is different. So don't ever put all mediums together as one, because they're all very different, work very differently. We all don't know each other either. So it's really important that the medium is aware of all these things going on, and they have to be in charge of that show. And it's not how many hits they get, how many connections. It's the information coming through that'll help every single person in that room. And so when you're a medium, you're part of a minister, a priest, a rabbi, a guru, everything, the teacher. There are many hats we wear. And the medium's responsibility is doing it the right way. Is doing it the right way that you should be doing it. It has nothing to do with the medium. The medium is purely the vessel of that energy. And mediums get in trouble when they get in the ego space. Because if you in the earth mind, the ego, which I call EGO, edging God out, right? Because they're so worried about, right, isn't that a good one? About the human, you're blocking the space. For me, my awareness has been that the mind field, called the mind field, the energy all around our head, the mind is part of the soul. The soul is part of the mind. And the soul is about 70-80% out of the body all the time. Only a sliver is here. So if people would just let the ego step aside and do the work of spirit, not only will they be uplifted, but they'll also find that they're infused with this incredible energy of love. And that's what it's about.
Interesting. So it feels like what you're saying is that the ones who do come through, who are able to, I guess, push through the ethers and become a part of the event, it feels like they're the ones who their message will sort of translate into a larger number of people. Is that
That is
accurate?
right. And that is right. And I've heard my guides speak to them, not all the time, but I've heard my guides behind me telling the next speaker about how to do this and what needs to be done as far as the message, make it as general as possible as for everybody. Once you hit the specifics, I'll never forget my favorite reading, because people often ask me, what was your favorite reading? I'm like, I've done so many, hundreds of thousands over the years, but one does stick out. And that was, I was in Maui, Hawaii, doing an event at the Performing Arts Center, about 300 people. And it was a good night, but a little slow because it was Maui. Everybody might have been Maui Wowie, I'm not sure. Because, as a medium, you got to stay on every word. And sometimes the audience is hesitating, and that slows the energy down. But anyway, at the end, it was a good demonstration. It's called a demonstration. And at the end, there was a little spirit girl with blonde hair, pigtails, and she was in a pink dress, and she was 3 years old, and she was jumping up and down on stage on the left side. She goes, I want to talk to my mommy and daddy. Today is my birthday. I want to talk to mommy and daddy. And I described this spirit to the audience. So was anyone who recognized her. And this couple stood at the very back, raised their hands. They both stood up, and it was amazing. And then, children are such great communicators. And they said, yes, our daughter. And the girl said, Daddy, thank you for the angel wings for my birthday. Thank you, Daddy. I love the angel wings. And I said, do you understand what the angel wings are? And he's a big gym guy, big bodybuilder. He pulls off his t-shirt, turns around, and on his last, he had just done 2 big angel wings, tattooed them for his daughter's birthday that day. So that is for everyone. Every single person was crying because we feel that love, that it's that love energy that brings this, allows it. And it's really for the audience to realize that love never dies. That's the moment of love. We can all relate to that little girl. We can all relate to the relationship of the parents and the daughter, because we're human beings and we can relate to that.
Yeah.